Bret Hart, are you on the line, sir?
Speaking.
How you doing, Bret?
We're fine.
Fantastic to have you here on Get in the Ring. Welcome to the program.
I'd like to say you've become a cult hero to myself and Sir Adam and people around the world because no matter what kind of job you've had over the years, you've always thought once or twice, I want to hit my boss. You did it.
Well, it's been a long month for me.
It's been the strangest month. We don't want to dwell on the past too much, but there's so many conflicting versions of what happened. In your mind, what happened?
Starting from where?
Starting from Survivor Series at the end of the match.
Well, I'm not really in a position to really talk much about the little incident in the dressing room, if that's what you want to talk about, but I will say that I think that that I was certainly justified in my actions, I think. I think that, you know, it's funny how much the WWF is trying to sort of turn it around and sort of paint me out to be sort of the villain or the bad guy or the uncooperative, the unreliable performer. I've wrestled 21 years, and I've always been a professional. I've always been a fair guy to deal with in all ways, and I've always been very honest, and I've had, I think I'm respected in and out of the dressing for my integrity. And I can't say the same for the WWF. They very basically flat out lied to me and cheated me, and especially they did it in front of my fans all around the world, and they did it very clearly, like without any regard for the fans in the building or the fans that watched that maybe stopped and said, "What are they doing? Like what?" You know, I think when you watch the tape back, you can see the sort of the crushed look on my face.
Yeah.
You can see the reaction in the audience and even some of the wrestlers in the ring. I don't doubt for a second that Shawn Michaels wasn't in on it. I'm sure he was.
That's what I was going to ask you next. It looked like he was doing a pretty good acting job pretending like he didn't know what was going on either.
Well, I think you hit it right the first time when you said it was a pretty good acting job. I think that it was something that was orchestrated and sort of worked out, I think possibly maybe days before or maybe hours before, but I know that, you know, even with the referee, it was a lot of, I don't know, I look at what happened, let's put it that way, I look at what happened and I go, well, why did any of this even have to happen? It didn't need to happen. I think what had happened was possibly, well, it seems like Vince McMahon panicked or got paranoid that I wasn't going to have any integrity, and I guess he was worried, apparently, that I was going to leave and show up on Nitro or something the next day. That's one story I've heard. And if that wasn't the story, I still never figure out what he actually was so fearful of. I think the damage that's been caused out of the whole thing has been far more detrimental and damaging to not just him, but to me. I mean, I didn't come out of this thing smelling like a rose either. I think it, you know, my heart was always with the WWF, and I was a reluctant warrior that was being forced to leave in the first place, and it was never my intention or idea to leave. It was theirs. I left really kind of thinking that I was doing them the favor.
Right.
And when they did that to me, I think it was a huge insult to me, and it was a huge insult to the profession. And I know Vince McMahon has talked this stuff about a time-honored tradition, isn't it? But that is a crock in itself, because I asked very openly what Vince McMahon would know about a time-honored tradition when he's out there ringing the bell in a match like mine, for example. And I asked what time-honored tradition Shawn Michaels would know about if he's forfeited three last titles that he's had. He's forfeited them in one way or another. Don't preach to me about time-honored traditions. There's maybe 40, 50 other wrestlers in that dressing room that respect time-honored traditions that Shawn Michaels doesn't.
Right. And they're not letting it go is what's surprising to me. You know, this past week on Raw, Shawn Michaels brought out a midget dressed up as you, and they were teasing your return, and the fans and I were wondering if you were going to be there. We didn't understand. I just don't understand why they won't let it go.
Well, I don't know either. I really have refused to watch the show since I left, which is very hard for me to do. I mean, I have a lot of friends there, and I feel sort of a an urge to watch it, but at the same time, I kind of stand by what you have to practice what you preach, and I think that it's almost necessary for someone to say, no, I'm going to boycott this stuff because they're going in a wayward, wrong direction. I don't know why. I know that I've had people suggest to me that prior to Survivor Series, everything led to me. Like every wrestler's real issue led to me. Steve Austin ultimately would lead to me. Shawn Michaels led to me. Undertaker led to me. You can kind of point at all the major stars. That sooner or later, their paths wind right up to me.
Right.
As soon as Survivor Series ended, and now it's like I guess it's 2 or 3 weeks later. It gives you an idea of how hapless the WWF is now. Is that everything still leads to me. You have Ken Shamrock, who's supposed to be wrestling against Shawn Michaels in, I guess it's Springfield or somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't even hardly talk about him or anything he's going to do or anything about their issue. Instead, they dragged out a midget, which to me only shows you how small Vince McMahon really is, and that he is a bully and all these things that he's accused Ted Turner of. He should actually wake up and look in the mirror now. He's a liar and a cheater and a bully, and he's doing all those same things to me. One of the few conversations that I can remember having with him in the last few weeks before that Survivor Series was one where I basically asked if I did leave, because at that time it was a big if, would he trash me on TV like he did Randy and Hulk and the rest of these guys?
Mm-hmm.
He swore to me that he wouldn't, in which I guess after our little altercation in Montreal, it would be foolish for me not to expect that he would. But it just seems that, he's
prolonging it.
So petty and so hell-bent on trying to humiliate me more or try to get it across. And I hear Jim Ross on this 900 Jim Ross report and everything.
The Ross line.
What a horse's ass he is. I mean, he's such a liar, and he tells just the sort of the tidbits or little parts of the story that make them look good. But they leave out all the things that they did wrong to me.
Mm-hmm.
They leave out all their the little black spots that make you go, geez, well, Bret Hart did this because the WWF did that to him first.
Right.
And it's kind of sad how they control that medium. They control the TV, and they control their they can say whatever they want, and they are. And it's not fair, and it's not necessarily true. But I will say this much, that I think that people know me, even though they only see me from standing on a TV, like sitting on TV or watching me on TV. And I believe that people are not being fooled, and they go, this guy, I don't really know behind the scenes, but all I know is that Bret Hart always had integrity. He always is respected, always gave 100% in the ring. And for them to sort of drag Bret Hart out to the back of the prison and line him up against the wall and shoot him in a firing squad, it's not selling well with the rest of the public, it's not selling with the rest of the other wrestlers, and it's not selling with the people right inside the office and administration. And I believe it'll backfire on, because the truth marches on.
Have you gotten a lot of phone calls from the other wrestlers?
Oh yeah, tons. I dare say almost every one, to be honest.
Wow. And they're not happy in the WWF now because of...
They're not. They're just... I think there's a lot of people that are very hurt, as as I am, and disappointed.
They do it to you, they can do it to anyone.
Exactly. And a lot of them are stuck. Like my brother Owen's a good example of a guy that's... I don't know that he'll ever be able to get out of it. He has two choices, quit wrestling or keep working for them.
Oh, my God. How's he doing? We've heard he had a pretty bad concussion for a while.
Yeah, I think for a little while there. And now I think he's just basically... trying to clean up after all this mess.
Right.
And, again, I've told Owen, and I hope my fans, non-wrestling fans, will understand that he has to do what's right for his family, and he never needs to worry about how it affects me or what it looks like. I mean, basically, as you could sort of tell last Monday, Jim Neidhart was another guy that sort of, patted on the head and kicked in the ass and to go out there and make a fool of himself. And you don't really have much choice sometimes if you want to keep your job.
Mm-hmm. Bret, we got to get some calls. Is that okay with you?
Sure.
They're crazy here. Alfonso from Rosedale. How you doing?
How you doing, guys?
What's up, Fonzo?
First of all, I want to say to Bret, I followed your career for a long time, and I've always respected your work ethic, and I think you're one of the true legends of the sport. Secondly, now that you're going to go into WCW, of course, you're going to have to work with Kevin Nash and Scott Hall and Sean Waltman, who are known to be three of Shawn Michaels' closest friends and will probably be sympathetic towards him in the whole situation. How do you think your relationship is going to be with those guys now they're going to be in Atlanta?
Well, when you say I don't have to work with them, I don't know whether that means with them or against them. I haven't made any real
decisions yet. Right?
I haven't drawn any real lines as to where I'm going in the WCW.
We're just passing them in the locker room and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'll find out. I mean, it's getting where I have to stand up for myself pretty regularly, so and it's nothing new.
Right.
You know, I've been standing up for myself since I was in grade 1, you know, and or earlier, and I'm not afraid to stand up for myself. And again, it comes down to whether I'm a reasonable, you know, is Bret Hart a reasonably good guy, or is he a guy that can? I've never had an argument really, or squabble, or any kind of altercations with any other wrestlers in 21 years, with the exception of Shawn Michaels and now Vince McMahon.
And that's what makes it so amazing. All the wrestlers we speak to, we never hear a bad word about you. You're the only guy in the sport. We've never heard anything bad about you. But something about Shawn Michaels, I mean, just gets under your skin. And what is it with him?
Well, you know, you have to back up what you say sometimes, and you know, he says things that put him in a lot of compromising situations, and he'd be probably the first one to admit, as he has several times to me over the last few months, that he's got a big mouth and he often puts his foot in it, and but excuses don't make it any easier to swallow sometimes, and he's always spoke out of turn, let's put it that way, and I think that in my case, I've always been a very quiet guy in the dressing room. I tend to be by myself. I tend to just do my job, and I do my job very well, and I'm respected for that. I've never been a agitator or a troublemaker in the dressing room or outside the dressing room.
Bret, we got to take one more call, a lot more, hopefully. Neil from Queens. How you doing, Neil? You're on the phone with Bret Hart.
Hey, Bret, how's it going?
Good.
I was just wondering, do you ever get mad at the way you went out in the WWF as a guy who hated all American people and just stood by Canada?
Oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, it's one of the things that's bothered me a lot is that in Ottawa, where I should have forfeited the title, I was all set to.
That was the original plan, right?
Yeah, I was all set to apologize to all my American fans for anything and all that was said. A lot of it was suggested things for me to say, and a lot of it I said myself. Some of it I think was intelligent and actually had some actual importance behind it. But things like me wanting to stick the hose in the give America an enema and stick the hose in Pittsburgh.
Well, Pittsburgh
those aren't my feelings. Those were things that were written down for me and put on paper, and basically say this is what Vince McMahon wants you to say about America, kind of thing too. And I think now looking back on it, I think a lot of what was presented to me to say was done. It was all a long-range effort by the WWF to tear me down. I think it was supposed to backfire on me when I was put in that position.
Right.
The funny thing about it is it didn't backfire. Not really.
Fred, I wanted to ask you, if you were in his shoes, and you knew you were leaving, and the belt had to go on somebody, who should have been, and who would you have picked to be the next WWF champion?
Excellent question.
I mean, and you can't say Owen or Bulldog.
No,
I'm giving you a lot of choices.
There's lots of choices. First of all, I wouldn't feel right suggesting anybody. I think that there's a room full of guys in the dressing room that all have an incredible amount of talent. Or you can name, if you just stop for a second, just picture Vader or Shamrock or Undertaker or Steve Austin or for that matter, Owen or Davey. If you just stop and flash, look at them, picture them as champion. It doesn't disturb me to see any of them as champion. I think that they're all, I don't know. There's nothing wrong with Steve Austin being champion. I don't know if he's physically up to it anymore, but then you ask me about Shawn Michaels. I have a bit of a problem with that. But that problem, me saying Shawn Michaels isn't worthy. even that in itself wasn't a problem in the end. But people ask what I would have done if I was Vince McMahon. Is that what you asked me? I would never have done anything close to what he did do. Right. Put it that way. I think if you look at what's happened, that was a total, that was some really, really horrible judgment. It sort of tells you what kind of a guy he really is. And if you look at all the guys that have left the WWF, from Randy Savage to Hulk to, I don't know if you want to get out a list of about 30 or 40 pages of wrestlers that have left there.
We have that list, and it's like a book.
They've all left on horrible terms. You've gone all the way back to Bruno, that have left with nothing but horrible, horrible, horrible things to say about him and his ethics and his morals and his integrity. And now you're looking at a guy that's tried to always, refute that.
Right.
And I find myself having to say, well, look what he just did to me. And all you have to do is look at what he just did to me. And
there's probably more stories like that all over the wrestling business.
Well, it's not right what they tried to do, and Vince McMahon has tried to sort of sell this idea that there's a time-honored tradition in the dressing room. But there is a time-honored tradition in the dressing room. There's a tradition in that dressing room that the wrestlers have a voice, and I had a voice that day. And my voice was basically I was just lied to and robbed and cheated and screwed over, and that's the voice of the wrestlers. A group of people that have no unions. We have no medical benefits. We have no, and now pretty much I find that we have no say in the actual business itself. We're really just nothing more than circus animals, and when they take you out back, they just put a slug in the back of your head, and that's it. And
oh my God!
Not right. That these guys can just kill your careers whenever they want to. That you have no say in the direction of the company. You have no say in the direction of your character. You have no say in anything. And I know there's people who say, well, he pays. He's the boss. He pays, does whatever he wants. But
you had a contract with the guy. Said you had control over your character. You have to stick by the contract.
Yeah, I had a contract with Vince McMahon that was for 20 years. That they basically flat out said, go get a better one somewhere else, because this one you got about 2 months, and we're just going to pay you way less.
That's unbelievable to me why they would say that to you, especially since at the time you were the world champion.
I'll never understand as long as I live, and I'll never understand Vince McMahon saying on the Monday Night Raw that I wasn't, he suggested that I wasn't worth the money anymore. But in fact, that's a non-issue, whether I was worth the money anymore. When you sit down with a hockey player or a baseball player or whoever, and you say, we're going to pay this guy, so much money a year to play for the New York Yankees.
Right.
You don't decide a year into it, like, well, you know what? I'm not going to pay him that next year. It just doesn't work like that. You agree to a number and you have to pay it. And especially in my case, I think if anybody has any doubts about my abilities, all you have to do is look at my SummerSlam match where I won the title. I had a great match. I think if you look at the match I had in England, which I don't know if it ever aired in the States or is on video or anything, but the match I had in England with The Undertaker, the one-night-only thing, which was really probably my last great match that I had in the WWF. I was exceptional.
I think
my abilities are, I compare that match and my work to anybody else's in the dressing room. I don't need 15 referees to get knocked down, and I don't need I don't need to throw fire or have fireworks. This is just one man wrestling another man, and you can't tell me that there's anything wrong with Bret the Hitman Hart. He's still the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. He proved it in London.
Absolutely. The fans agree with you. It's only Vince's prerogative, Bret. But we want to ask you about Earl Hebner and his role in that matchup. Now, from what we've heard, you came to him and requested him as the referee because he was a friend of yours. And another story of betrayal.
Well, I didn't request him. I never
really?
actually had a chance to. I knew that he would be the guy. They usually ask Earl to be the referee. And I pulled Earl aside in Detroit, Michigan, where he broke into tears pretty much. Because I think it was a very emotional time. And to be honest, I don't think Earl liked me that night so much.
Okay.
He broke down pretty much and told me that he swore on his children that he would never do anything, that they'd never talk him into screw me out of the title, that they would never, that he wouldn't do it. He would quit his job first. He would never do it. He'd never fall for it. He he basically gave me every kind of assurance that it would never, ever, ever, ever happen. And I believed him.
Right.
And
why wouldn't you?
The next night when he was getting ready to walk through the dressing room, I'm understanding this from second or third parties now, but I've never talked to him or anybody else in the office since that black day. But he was apparently told on the way out to the ring that that they were going to screw me out of the belt. And the problem I have with that is that he said that he would quit. He said he would not allow it to happen, and he went in there and did it without even blinking an eye.
So you were warned beforehand, were you?
I was warned by everyone for days that this, be really careful. And I was very, very careful.
Mm-hmm.
But I just thought and was wrong that that they would have to have a referee that would have to partake in this thing. That if someone asked me, and that's why I fell victim to it so easily. If someone had asked me whether Earl Hebner would burn me, I told myself, there's no way Earl Hebner would ever play a part in anything like this.
Mm-hmm.
And, I have people suggest that he had a family and he had, his job was on the line, and I understand all that. But at the same time, he assured me that job or no job or family or, hell, he swore on his own child, that I wouldn't need to worry about it. And that's the problem I have. You should have just said, look, wait a minute, or either that or you should have told me in Detroit, like if they put a gun to my head, I got to do what they tell me.
Right.
In which case, then I would have been very careful about any type of holds or whether someone's covering me for a pinfall, they wouldn't have got past two.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. All right, Bret, we just got to take some more calls. Is it all right with you?
Sure.
All right, Paul from Plainview, get in the ring.
How you doing, Bret?
Good.
I just had a couple of quick questions. One of them really was, what do you think would make Vince McMahon take his top wrestler and just basically throw you away and give you to the WCW?
I think it was a power trip. I think that I'm not sure if it came down to Sean saying either he goes or I go or how it worked. I'll never know.
Right.
I don't know that maybe Vince McMahon legitimately had money problems. When they approached me, they were, it was a very urgent kind of problem. The company was in financial peril.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, after I started negotiations, which they asked me to, and got the ball rolling with the WCW and was waiting for an offer, he did come to me and tell me that, in fact, now they had come into money and they could afford to pay me. And it wouldn't be a problem anymore. But I had to be honest with him and say, look, you asked me to start up negotiations with these other people. Now I'm waiting for a reply back. I can't just dump them now and say, well, I don't need your warrior offer after weeks of setting it up and getting the meetings and contracts. It was almost getting worked out. So I don't know if it was any truth to maybe in the end he wanted me to stay. I won't know, but I was very honest with him. I told him the truth every time I talked to him. I explained to him that I was waiting for word back. Even right up to the day that I signed with the WCW, I called Vince McMahon on Saturday morning, the day I signed with the WCW, and said, Vince, I've got an offer that's like an idiot would pass it up.
Mm-hmm.
It was like it's a much, much better offer. But I'll be honest with you, I don't want to leave, and I'd like you to talk me into staying. And that's why it bothers me when they say I left for money reasons. It should be very clear that I never, ever left for money reasons.
Right, they keep throwing the figure around on the TV show.
Well, the figures are irrelevant. It could have been $10 million.
Right.
It could have been $100 million.
But I think they're trying to invoke sympathy from the fans, saying that you were greedy or something, but I think most fans see through that.
Yeah, I gave Vince McMahon every opportunity to keep me. Just give me one reason, give me something, give me anything to stay. And I'll be honest, he gave me nothing to stay.
Mm-hmm.
And basically painted out a scenario or scenarios for the next 6 months that would have broke the hearts of any wrestling fan that were a fan of mine anyway. And you would have, I see people saying I sold out. I got off a sinking ship that would at least, for sure, they would have made me walk the plank pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad I got off. And it was kind of a very, very emotional, sad thing to me to leave the WWF. Way harder on me than anyone else.
Oh, absolutely.
Mr. Adam keeps talking about your great tag team matches when you were coming up in the business with S.D. Jones. you tagged with them.
I just remember early matches. I went to Madison Square Garden. I saw the beginning of your career in the WWF, and just to see you leave this way, it just breaks my heart.
Well, mine too. Again, it's like you kind of end up going, well, I can't watch it anymore because now I'm kind of standing up for myself and trying to show a little integrity or, dignity. They seem hell-bent on tearing me down even more anyway.
Right. And I don't know how you wouldn't, throw the TV through the window if you saw that. I mean, that would get me so upset to see the way, the way Jim Neidhart was treated. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, well, Jim made a fool of himself, and he should have known better, and he was warned that these people are very unscrupulous. But again, you don't have much in the way of a job,
right.
And they want to see you roll for peanuts, kind of thing. It's just like a monkey in the zoo or a circus or something. You don't have any choice to do it. They whack you they give you a little whip in the ass. Yeah. They really. What they did to Jim Neidhart just gives me a sign, shows me what they would do with Owen and Davey, and probably will do with Owen and Davey. And you're going to see a lot of.
Is Owen going to come back?
Again, it's what's the only thing he can do to feed his family.
Right.
A lot of these.
Right.
Owen signed a long-term agreement.
Right.
I think Davey, and I think they signed strictly because they knew that I was the anchor to their situation. That that I would always be there to sort of. Make sure they were respected, but again, I'm not, and I won't be anymore. And they're on their own, which is very sad because I don't think that I certainly don't think the WWF will take care of either one of them.
Now, Bret, before we let you go, there's somebody in the WCW that in the past we've heard different rumors, innuendos that Hulk Hogan refused to wrestle you. Now he's the world champion right now. We don't know what's going to happen after Starrcade, but he's somebody you got to deal with. I mean, is that too much ego in there for you with Hulk Hogan?
I don't know. I'll find out, I guess. I will say this much, that I had I wouldn't say an altercation, but I guess it would be an altercation, verbal altercation with Hulk Hogan. One of the last conversations I ever had with him was a very testy one, let me put it that way. And one of the things he said to me that day, and it's echoed in my ears for quite a while now, is he said, you don't know the whole story. You're not getting the whole story. You're getting Vince's version of the story. And I never believed him. I doubted that. I thought I got the whole picture. I know what he did. I know he refused to work with me, or at least that's how I read it. And I've changed my mind on all that. I don't see that being the case at all. I think there is another side of the story, maybe a completely different side of the story. And I think maybe Vince McMahon was belittling and had his thumb down on Hogan, just like he's done to me, and Hulk was maybe standing up for his rights as a performer rather than having any personal animosity towards me.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't believe anything that happened before. I look at all these guys, from Bruno to Bob Backlund to every champion that ever worked for the World Wrestling Federation. They've all left on horrible with black clouds over there, and anger and insult, and I look at myself, and I pass no judgment on any other wrestlers for how they left the World Wrestling Federation.
Brett, let me be the first one to say that. I mean, it could have happened in a better way, but I think that it was the best thing for your career to head to WCW. You did what you could in WWF, and we wish you the best of luck there in WCW.
Well, I appreciate it. I hope that my fans in New York always remember that they were always my favorite. It was always my favorite place to work. I'm going to miss Madison Square Garden. Even the last Monday Night Raw that we did do there, which is where Vince McMahon dropped a lot of this big bomb on me in the first place.
Right.
It was even that night was kind of a special night to me in the sense that the fans did not buy into the Bret Hart bad guy thing. They still cheered like they always did before. And, I hope that we can get there. WCW, I guess Vince has got every building locked up and every place locked up, but maybe there's Philadelphia, I guess, Spectrum or something. They say WCW runs there, and I hope anywhere I can that I'll see all my fans, whether it's on TV or live, and I will say this much in the next 3 years, that I'll be giving everybody a run for the money in the World Championship Wrestling. And I think Vince McMahon will notice a serious flaw in his show, and that flaw will be that he doesn't have Bret Hart.
Well, we noticed the flaw already. Mr. Hart, thank you for joining us. We wish you the best of luck, and we thank you for coming on, Get in the Ring, and joining us.
Brett, we tried to get you to do a promo before. Could you just do a quick one, say, I'm Bret Hart, and Get in the Ring or something like that, so we could just put on a promo?
I'm Bret Hart, Bret the Hitman Hart. And what's the station?
It's 12:40 a.m. WGBB.
Hold on.
Okay. Fans, we can't wait to get this promo.
We're going to play this every week.
It's going to be great.
Hero.
Adam, we got it. It's great. 12:40 a.m. WGBB. And it's called Get in the Ring.
Okay. Ready?
Yep. Hold on one second. We'll get the music for you. Come on. Okay. Anytime you're ready.
Hey, this is Bret the Hitman Hart of the World Championship. Let me do it again.
Yeah, you got to get used to saying that, right?
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, this is Bret the Hitman Hart of the WCW, and you're listening to 1240 AM WGBB. Get in the ring with the best there is, the best there was, and the best that there ever will be.
Thank you, Mr. Hart.
Okay. Take care, guys.
Have a great day, and thank you again.
Bye.
Woo! That was the best, Sir Adam.